first, I think most important that we correct Stuart Broad's typo. He's obviously running so hard that he's not doing a 5 kilometre run, he's actually doing a 50 kilometre run, which I think is more like it. Well done, Stuart. Keep going. We didn't doubt you for a moment, and you can listen, you can settle back while you're running and listen to Vic Marks' thoughts on the day so far. It's been a fascinating day. It really has. It ended with Pakistan needing 263 more runs to win the game. They're 80 for 2 at the close. They've lost Shafiq for 6, Babar Azam for 4, big wicket that after Azhar Ali had to retire hurt. Second ball struck on the hand from Ollie Robinson. We'll talk about the short pitch bowling attack and so on, which has been intriguing. Even Jimmy Anderson having to come in and hurl down a succession of bouncers, more than he's possibly ever bowled in his life. I think he bowled today, and just in those 2 overs they were all bouncers, but it worked to an extent, because Shafiq was caught out in the deep for 6, and Babar Azam also a short ball, got a little under edge to it of Stokes, who didn't appeal. He's quite surprised he was given out, actually, but Pope knew he was having a good time behind the stumps, given that he was pressed into action in Folkes' absence. Babar Azam out for 4. So 80 for 2, 263 more to win. That after England declared on 264 for 7 from just 35 overs. Again, they went at more than 7 runs per over as they set off today to pick up the declaration after Pakistan were eventually bowled out for 579 this morning. They added 80 runs. I must mention Will Jacks is 6 for 161 in his first Test match, bowling his off spin. So 579, that's a lead of 78 for England, who went in pressing on to build up their declaration. Crawley a very nice 50. Duckett joined that exclusive and possibly unhappy club, I don't know really. He got 100 in the first innings, you feel good about that, but a golden duck in the second. So he was trying to steer a ball to third man, which he edged to second slip. So he was out for 0. That was 1 for 1. Pope made 15, caught in the deep. They're all having a go. 36 for 2, 96 for 3 when Crawley, who played some beautiful strokes again, standing tall, stroking the ball brilliantly. 50 from 48 balls. Root 73 from 69. He even actually batted left-handed, only very briefly, but left-handed he batted on his way to 73 from 69 balls. His brother Billy, of course, is a left-handed batsman, so whether there's some left-handed genes in there, I don't know, but it does rather emphasise what this pitch is like. Stokes, disappointing end, third ball, huge swipe, just skied the ball in the air to cover, out for a duck, and then 87 from Brook from 65 balls against some handsome, firm shots. He hit 11 fours in that 65 ball innings, and Jacks also cleared the boundary, 24 from 13 balls. So 264 for 7 from 35 overs. They declared at tea. In the combined innings, they've scored at 6.7 runs per over, 921 runs at 6.7. And I did pick this up somewhere else, Andy, and I need to check it with you, but the person who gave me this information suggests that no team having completed 2 innings in a Test match has ever scored an aggregate run rate as that before.
Yeah, it smashed the record that England set at Headingley last summer, which was 5.4 and over. South Africa did score quicker, but in a Test in which they only batted once. Just
in one innings. So in 2 innings combined, 6.7, and yeah, you're right, it does absolutely smash the record. So we're set up tomorrow, and it isn't remarkable, really, Victor, that the dullest and flattest of pitches should give us a good final day.
I think it'll give us a result, i.e. not a draw, but a win for one side or the other, which is remarkable. We will have a cracking day tomorrow. Unfortunately, the side that scores the fastest doesn't necessarily win the game. I suppose I'll give you my gut instincts when we learned of the declaration. My gut instinct, it may be a generational thing. My gut instinct was it's too soon. Because there's a lot of talk about dangling the carrot.
Yep.
The problem is that as things stand, and England got 2 wickets plus the retired hurt, there's no carrot left to dangle, because you just have to bat out there, and you will, if you don't get out, you will score fast enough. So there is no need for undue risk. There will be pressure, though. There will be pressure. So it's an old programme, but yes, Minister Sir Humphrey would have said, it's a very brave decision to his leader.
And I'll throw into that the fact is that this is the first of only a 3-match series as well? Does that come into the equation?
I don't know, because times have changed so much. Because in the past, particularly going to, say, India, maybe here, although we haven't had many results here, what might happen is that you win the first test, and then rather than this raging Turner here in Rawalpindi, you'll produce some really flat pitches for the other two. But I think that mindset may have moved on both sides. So, in fact, we've got a great game tomorrow. We have got a great game. But as an old soldier, there is something odd about making a declaration and immediately you look at the bookies and the side batting last is placed as the favourite. So we'll see. But it could be a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
But I'm so lily-livered, I wouldn't have done it in his position.
It's interesting to contrast the two teams. I mean, England do look supremely confident. It's just the air that they've adopted since McCullum and Stokes took over at the start of last summer. They've won lots of games, we know, but you can see it about them. The way that Pakistan were batting there at the start of their innings, I thought particularly they do look jittery. They look anxious.
Well, they did look anxious. They didn't look very anxious in the last 45 minutes, it's fair to say. I mean, there is greater anxiety on the last day because the match is to be decided, and it will be decided. And as I say, I think the draw is the least favourite outcome just at the minute. And there will be tension if they lose wickets, make a mistake. But I'm also thinking, if they're good professionals and they just bat, they don't have to take undue risk. And if you don't have to take undue risks against spinners on this track, I can't see how spinners will get them. In which case you've got the pace bowlers to try and do it by inducing a top-edged hook or something like that. The thing that might come to England's help is simply that pressure of being close to what will be a historic victory. So we'll wait and see. I mean, it's very brave, it's very 21st century, it's very actually 2022-ish, because England didn't play like this a year ago, and there is much to applaud. But my gut feeling is I'm still unhappy at a declaration that makes the batting side, the recipient of the declaration, legitimately, in my view, favourites to win the game.
3.2 per over. If you estimate 80 overs tomorrow, and England can play with that a bit, of course. They can slow things down, they can speed things up. But if you take 80 overs as being a likely sort of number of overs to be bowled, so the 3.2 per over
is the slowest rate of the match.
Yeah,
by a margin,
by
both
a comfortable
sides.
distance.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway, we will see. It makes for, in many ways, it's so much preferable to the dull draw that we were all predicting, and which 9 times or 19 times out of 20, this sort of surface, pre-McCullum stroke Stokes, would produce the dullest of draws. And to be fair to everyone, we were not going to get that now. We're going to have a spine-tingling match. We don't know who's going to win. At the moment, we don't think there's going to be a draw. It's just possible, if early wickets fell and the right batsman, or certainly aggressive batsmen, were dismissed, that you might get a draw with Azhar with one hand blocking out. It's possible.
Yeah.
But I think the draw is the least favourite. So I'm not going to be, I don't want to be too grumpy, but I'm just telling you my gut instinct was...
Don't be grumpy, Victor.
I wouldn't have declared then, because I don't think you are enticing the opposition to have to take a sufficient number of risks on this surface to get the right number of wickets. It's only a bit of pressure and more batsman error that will get you there.
Yeah. Will Jacks then, his first test, which he'd have known... I've had little warning of, I suppose, unless everyone was just told, be on your guard, you might be playing tomorrow because of the virus. Of course, he's only playing because Ben Folkes couldn't make it, had to jiggle around the side. 6 for 161 for somebody who's only just picking up off spin, really. What did you think?
Well, no, I'm impressed. I mean, he's done incredibly well. Given, I don't think he'd taken a first-class wicket until last season. And Surrey have promoted him as suddenly a bit of a sort of Moeen Ali type of thing, but much more hurried to rush him into this.
But a batsman who bowls.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that will probably change that balance. And he's got many assets. He spins the ball. He loses the ball. But he's going to have to learn fast. And tomorrow, I mean, that's the other factor, is that he's going to have to do a lot of bowling tomorrow. Will Jacks in a very tight situation. Good luck to him. It's a fantastic experience. The great thing about this England setup is they just give everyone confidence and they believe in them and they trust them. Do they bother about losing? Well, Possibly not that much.
But they haven't really lost yet. No, it's a question of what happened, what the reaction is to defeat. Maybe. I mean,
Well,
I
it
think-
hasn't happened. It hasn't
Indeed, and I think they are probably favourites to win this game now. Actually,
Do you? I don't
yes,
know.
I do. I do.
I don't.
I think they're just so supremely confident. They just think at the moment they can do anything.
I mean, it'll be fascinating either way. So this is much better than a dull draw. Actually, I think I would take Pakistan, but we'll discuss this tomorrow night.
Yes, of course you will.
That bit. I mean, but the great thing is we've got a great finale to the Test match, and I don't think any side, as I say, I don't think Pakistan can contemplate, unless they lose a clatter of wickets early on, not making sure that they try and knock these runs off.
Yeah.
They've been given no choice by Stokes, which is a brave thing to do.
412 runs scored today for 12 wickets in 75 overs. It's going to be an abiding memory for me here, you know, that it's not just the way that the fours are struck, but it's the way the ball just flies to the boundary. It is like playing on a snooker table. There's no resistance from the grass at all. It just keeps going.
Well, there were one or two strokes by Harry Brook in particular, where they were boundary fielders, scouts out there, but he hit the ball so sweetly that unless they were about 5 yards away from that ball when it was struck, in terms of distance to run, they had no chance to stop it. I mean, he times the ball extraordinarily well, as did Zach Crawley as well.
Yeah.
And we all assumed that Joe Root was going to get his 100, which he must have been pining for in the first innings. And then the sweep got him. But to see him suddenly, just one ball, he actually was dropped when he went left-handed, but I've never seen that in a Test match before.
I can actually imagine Joe Root actually taking guard and batting left-handed. It was against the wrist spinner, so he could be turning into him, and he's doing it, basically setting himself up for a legitimate switch hit, I think is probably what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Because you can't change your hands mid-stroke, but you can set up there for that switch hit, and that is remarkable.
It's a wonderful, tiny little vignette of the freedom that this team has been given. I mean, you can probably remember in the 80s when Peter May, champion of selectors, was incandescent when Both and possibly Gatt would play the odd reverse sweep. There was talk of him trying to ban this shot. And now we've got Joe Root turning around playing one left-handed, so he can have a left-handed sweep. He got dropped. He only did it once because he was actually dropped.
He was
what became square leg when he did that. But that is an expression of the freedom that they all have. I mean, I'm thinking even towards the end that as Jack Leach bowling to the left-handed Shakil, he's got no one beyond short mid on and short mid wicket. And it's an expression of great confidence. Of course, he pumped in for a couple of fours over there, and I wouldn't like that. but perhaps I'm showing my age. But it's it makes for much more exciting cricket. But I don't like England losing games that they don't have to lose. That's a very old-fashioned view, perhaps. Well, they're a logical one when it's a sporting contest, I suppose.
If you were invited into the England dressing room,
Yeah.
and you sat down beside Ben Stokes, and you wrapped your avuncular arm around him
Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to happen, but carry on.
to discuss his batting,
Yeah.
would you say anything to him?
Well, I think I might pluck up courage and say, come up a bowling all round now then, are you? And then I'd probably just quietly disappear.
Right.
I think it was odd in the World Cup. I mean, he blocks when the chips were really down. He was brilliant, and I sense when he came out today he wasn't going to get any, and he quite often gets out horrendously because there's this freedom that he's going to go for it and make another statement. Actually, to be fair, in that World Cup, when the chips were down,
semi-final and the final,
he blocked his way to victory.
Yeah, he won the game. Both games. So
he blocks in white ball and plays in absolute cavalier fashion in red ball. It's still that also as an old timer. My instincts are what a waste. But
do you think he's still trying? Because I remember talking to him last summer when he was charging the fast bowlers. He was caught at mid-off a couple of times, and he was making the point that actually he was just trying to show the rest of the team that this is I'm going to do it, so therefore you follow. But I might have thought we're a bit beyond that now. But everyone knows how they're playing because they're playing like it. So that's his first innings dismissal.
That's true.
and this.
I think actually, I mean, I agree with that. They know how they are allowed to play and wanted to play, and all this team, the type of players they are, that's the way they want to play anyway.
Yes.
I just wonder whether, in certain situations where there's leeway to fail, he's just not sort of galvanised for that sort of traditional test style innings. He's just totally carefree. And I think if England were batting in search of this target tomorrow, I bet you if Ben Stokes came out, he wouldn't be running down he wouldn't be running down the pitch at 6 in the first over.
No.
And he'd take his time and he'd get in because there was a game to be won. There was not much to be lost when he was dismissed today, but it's still infuriating to see such a good player. It was actually a curious piece of captaincy, or a good piece of captaincy from Babar, because there was a man at deep backward point, and he brought him in after one ball. Stokes played the reverse sweep, hit it hard, and it went straight to the man who'd been brought into the circle, if you like, and it was a dot ball rather than a one, and then he got out playing a horrendous hack. No one minds though, really, and it didn't really affect England's progress. So when he's got freedom, when he thinks everything's okay, he struggles to get his mind around the notion of having a quick look before dominating the opposition. It's a very strange and selfless outlook.
Right, stats time, Andy. What have you got today?
Well, there's been a lot of stats in this game, Aggers. England hit their most boundaries ever in a test match, 128, 15 sixes and 113 fours. And the match total, including the 93 Pakistan have hit so far, 221, is just 28 short of the all-time record of 249, which was set in that Trent Bridge test between England and New Zealand earlier this year, one of those sort of defining games of the Stokes-McCullum era so far. If Pakistan do successfully chase this, it'll be the second highest scoring test in history in terms of total runs, up above 1,840. Only the timeless test in Durban in 1939 would be more. Zach Crawley, 2 half-centuries reached in fewer than 50 balls, only the 7th player and first England player ever to do that in tests. Harry Brook ended the game with 240 off 181 deliveries, but Gilbert Jessop's record for fastest England century survives another assault. He's clinging on, the great man. Will Jacks, was quite a nice stat here, 6 wickets on debut, the first England bowler to do that since James Kirtley in 2003, the first England spinner to have a 6-for on debut since Peter Such in 1993, and the first England spinner to have a 6-for on debut overseas since Jim Laker took 7-for in the West Indies in 1948. So I look forward to Will Jacks taking 19 wickets in the Old Trafford Ashes Test next to someone. The only spinner to do that before Laker was a guy called Simpson Hayward, who bowled underarm lobs. So the game has changed. That was in 1910. And the way England bowled in the second innings, how short-pitched their opening assault was, and we talked a lot about how they do things with the bat that teams have never confronted before, and this was the shortest recorded opening 10 overs in the CricViz database, which goes back to 2005. Jimmy Anderson bowled the 2 shortest pitched overs of his entire career. So England, again, thinking inventively, doing things that their opposition simply were not expecting. And just quickly, Zahid Mahmood conceded 319 runs on debut, took 6 wickets, but that's the 3rd most ever conceded by a bowler in a test match and the most by someone on debut.